founder of Flourish Dental Boutique in Richardson, Dr. Toni Engram. So Dr. Engram grew up in Hillsboro, Texas, so she's a native Texan. And she met her future husband there and graduated second in her high school class. So she was always destined to go far. She attended Texas Christian University and graduated magna cum laude with a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. And then she earned her doctorate degree at Baylor College of Dentistry. After her own personal health struggles with an autoimmune disease, Dr. Engram shifted her practice philosophy to focus on whole body health and the prevention and safer treatment of oral disease. Because, as those of my patients know, our dental is crucially and inextricably connected to everything else. What happens in your mouth affects the rest of your body, right? So it's really important to have a good dentist. So as a general dentist focused on holistic and biological dentistry, Dr. Engram is a member of the Holistic Dental Association, the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology, the International Academy of Biological Dentistry and Medicine, and she is SMART certified in safe amalgam removal techniques, accredited through the IAOMT. She is one of the couple of dentists in this area that we actually recommend for people to have amalgam removals done. It's really important to have that done by somebody who really knows what they're doing. So she's also a certified integrative health coach through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. Locally, Dr. Engram is a supporting member of the Dallas Holistic Chamber. I've had the good fortune to know her for several years, and she is also my dentist. So I definitely recommend her. She's one of the few truly holistic dentists in the area, and she's also studied thermography with us. So you can take your thermography report to her, and she knows what she's looking at, which is very nice. So, in addition to being a great dentist, she's super cute and lots of fun. So, Dr. Engram, please join me in welcoming Dr. Toni Engram. There's a hand mic. Fantastic. Mic you up with the lav mic? Yeah. So, whatever works for you.
Whatever works for me. That's so nice. Okay. Hello, hello. Oh, it works. I texted this morning to Kathy and Marta and some of the presenters. I said, hey, I'm a little bit behind. My voice is a little hoarse. Is there tea available? And so Chris chimes in, there's plenty of RPG coffee. So I am happy to report I have had my RPG. I've had a lot of coffee this morning. And my throat feels great. We'll see how it does over the 20 minutes. And I don't see a timer, so I'm gonna keep watching the clock. Oh, y'all started early. Okay. Once they give the shepherd's hook, that I'll know. Okay, this is me, and poor Marta pulled the long version of my bio, so thank you for sitting through the long version of my bio. I'm so thankful to be here with all of you today. I'm thankful for the Thermography Center. They've been such an important partner of mine in making sure that my patients are taken care of, and I feel just honored and blessed to help collaborate on their clients as well. So thank you so much for the Thermography Center. I'm so happy to be here. And I just want to know that this feels like a room of family. So just by a show of hands, how many of you were here last year and heard me speak last year? That's what I thought. How many of you you don't have to raise your hand, but no, I almost violated HIPAA. I was gonna say, how many of you are my patients? But don't raise your hand, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's like, I recognize you. Okay, so I wanna make sure that we cover all of the information that you need to hear as far as oral health in relation to breast health But then I also want to have a family conversation because I feel like there are some things that have happened recently that I really want to make sure you know. And also, just by show of hands, how many of you have seen some of my videos on YouTube or Rumble lately? Okay, good. Good. A couple of you, so we definitely want to share with the rest of you then. So why am I here? Well, I have a biological dental practice because I really believe in these 3 principles. First, I believe that dentistry should be safe, first and foremost. I believe, just as Marta has said, just like the nurse before me said, I believe that the health of your mouth is intricately related to your overall health. And lastly, I believe that we are all meant to flourish. So yes, I want you to take a lot of good information from today, but I really want you to know that you are meant to flourish and thrive. And so my job as a dentist, especially when working with the Thermography Center and many of the naturopaths that I get to work with, my job is to remove these oral contributors to systemic disease. And this is a little video I played last year. I won't subject you to it this year. But the leg bone is connected to the mouth bone, right? The breastbone is connected to the mouth bone. It's all connected, in case you didn't know. And then I was asked to make sure that you all know which specific teeth are connected to breast health. Well, the correct answer is all of them. All of your teeth are connected to your breast health. All of your teeth, all of your gums, all of everything else is connected to the health of your breasts. And when we're looking at Eastern medicine specifically, there are several teeth, mainly the upper molars, are connected along the same meridian. So now we're going to Eastern medicine. They're connected along the same meridian as your breast tissue. Gum tissue, very closely tied to breast health. And I follow instructions. I was told not to use the C word today, so we're not going to use the C word today. But this is just, now going from Eastern medicine to Western medicine, this is a meta-analysis, a study of studies that found a direct correlation between gum disease and breast imbalances, breast illness, we'll say. Your oral microbiome is also connected to your breast health. The health, how imbalanced those bacteria are in your mouth are connected to the health of your breasts. And then what we're going to spend a lot of time talking about today are some of these toxic exposures in breast health. Again, my job is to remove those oral contributors to systemic disease. And so that really shows up when we have different toxic exposures that are impacting not just our breast health, but the health of everything else. And when we're talking about toxic exposures, you guys have probably heard me say this before, but we want to go beyond the germ theory of disease to one bug causes one illness, one virus causes one illness, to more of a terrain theory of disease. So how full is your toxic bucket? What can you handle? And it depends on the health of the terrain. How healthy is your overall system? Because anytime you have some dental stress and dental toxicity, then, and I see this on your thermograms all the time, you'll have all of this lymphatic clogging, this lymphatic blockage when there's something going on in your mouth. Mercury exposure is another huge one. Any kind of heavy metal toxicity, again, we're going to clog up the system. We're going to make things less likely to clear on their own, We're filling up that toxic bucket and damaging the terrain. Fluoride is one that we don't think about as often, but y'all, fluoride is hugely impactful. It is a huge toxic exposure that, regardless of what products you're using at home, if you're using a fluoride toothpaste or not a fluoride toothpaste, you're still exposed to fluoride because it's in the tap water. And if it's in the tap water, that means it's everywhere, right? So it's in the water that's used to manufacture that super healthy bottle of green tea that you're drinking. It's used to manufacture those organic gluten-free crackers that you're eating. So you're exposed in all of these different places that you might not intend to be exposed to fluoride. So we want to make sure that we know that so that we're empowered to combat those toxic exposures. And then anything that I use in your mouth that's not metal is going to have either plastic or glass particles of some kind. And so if we're not really, really intentional, then we can get BPA in some of those plastic materials. Plastic is still plastic. I'm not delusional to think that I'm putting a completely natural substance in your body when I'm placing a composite filling. So there will still be endocrine disruptors that are going into your mouth, even if we're doing everything as best we can and as non-toxic as we can. We do the best we can, right? Root canals are huge, and I don't know, have any of you heard of, he's not in this area, his name is Dr. Pompa, and he's really, really active online. Have any of you seen some of his material? I've got, besides the Thermography Center, he's one of my biggest referral sources right now. Isn't that interesting? Because he, thankfully, and I'm so grateful for this, he is really shouting from the rooftops that he wants all of his clients to look at a cone beam CT, which is basically a 3D X-ray, to check for infections in the jaw. And a major source of infections in the jaw is potentially root canals. So we want to make sure that we're looking really closely at these root canals to see, are they serving you well, or are they just an inhibitor to having a nice, healthy terrain? And here's just an example of what we're looking for. And you can see these images look slightly different than an X-ray because this is taken in 3D. And so sometimes those 2D X-rays, the normal dental X-rays, can really miss a whole lot. And being able to see in 3 dimensions gives us just incredibly enhanced ability to see these things closer and see them better in more detail. Local anesthetics we're going to talk about in just a minute. And I know you guys are going to get a lot of this, especially this afternoon, and so I'm really excited about that too. But stress and fear and trauma, those are all impacting your overall health, your breast health. They impact you in my chair. Sometimes my work creates a little of this. Right? I know you're all my patients, and so nobody wants to hurt my feelings, but you can say it, it's okay. There's a lot of dental trauma in the room. And so all of those stressors, we want to make sure that we address, that we take care of as best we can, and that we're aware of it. Okay, so now we want to have, how am I doing on time? Oh, we got plenty of time, y'all. Okay. Time for the family conversation. Depending on what deep, dark corners of the internet you have been down, some of you may or may not have seen, and you can raise your hand if you've seen this, that there might be some interesting, weird substances, contaminants, something in the anesthetic that I use. Have any of you heard these things? Yeah. So if you want, like I said, these are the deep, dark corners of the internet. There were a lot of questions, and this started about a year ago, of there might be some things that we weren't expecting in different injectable medications, including dental anesthetic, including injectable insulin, including many injectable medications. And so being a biological dentist, several of us have been talking about this, wondering about this, asking questions, talking to those people who have done some of this testing. And as best we could tell, there was really nothing there, thankfully. I will tell you, my anesthetic that I've been using hasn't been acting any different, hasn't been performing any different. I've seen no increase in side effects, no increase in negative effects of any kind. So I want to know that first. This is not like a fear-mongering type of conversation. But these are substances that are nanoparticles, similar to the ones found in other injectables that we've been exposed to lately, that are really concerning. Some will go so far as to say that some of these nanoparticles, like graphene oxide, are then in the blood able to self-assemble into different things. Well, that sounds weird, right? That's a little concerning. So more dentists, more colleagues of mine have been asking more questions. I didn't get any answers. Thankfully, there was one dentist who was a little more stubborn than I was, who I really appreciate. His name is Jim Lundstrom, and he put up his own money and found lab after lab after lab to let's look at this under a microscope. You can't see graphene oxide. You can't see these nanoparticles with a normal light microscope like you would buy on a desktop. It has to be some very specific type of microscopes that will see this. And so he got turned down by several labs. Several labs just didn't want to, there was nothing there, they felt like, and so they didn't want to waste their time. But he was able to get the University of Colorado to test it on his own dime. He spent his own money to have this happen. And the University of Colorado, which I would assume, and wouldn't you assume also that the University of Colorado probably doesn't have a dog in the fight, probably isn't looking to find something weird in our local anesthetic. So I would assume a fairly unbiased, or if anything, biased in the other direction as to what they would find or not find. And so the report came back, and the University of Colorado said they are certain that there was, in fact, graphene oxide in the anesthetic samples that they tested with confidence, and they put it in quotations and it's published. That's kind of weird, y'all, right? Isn't that a little strange? So there was graphene oxide found in this one anesthetic. It's an anesthetic from Europe. It's technically not one that I use, even though it's a really common anesthetic that is used. It was one of the few anesthetic manufacturers that was willing to say publicly that there was no graphene oxide in their anesthetic. That was the one that was tested and came back positive. I've talked to other scientists, including one that is on the speaker docket today. Is he still coming? Okay. I was like, is his artist still coming? Okay, good. Who's saying that it's in all of them. It's in all of them. So again, kind of weird. What do we do with this? And so I took that information. Again, all I have are questions. I don't know what I don't know. The only thing I know is that everything I use works the same. Everything I see is the same as it was 5 years ago and 10 years ago. But weird things are happening. And so I went And Marta does lovely saying the organizations that I'm a part of. I went to the largest organization of biological dentists, and I was there. I'm on one committee. I'm on like the cutesy fun party committee. It's the communications committee. So I just go there and have fun, and we talk about what the organization talks about. But on committee day, if you're there for committees, you get to sit through all the committees if you want to. And I want you to know, I sat in that room, and I felt like I was sitting in a room of allopathic providers. It felt like I had gone back in time to before I knew anything about fluoride, to before I knew anything about mercury. It felt the same because I was the youngest one there. There were very few females in the room. There were my colleagues who are in charge, who are retired from clinical practice, by the way, and don't hear the questions that my patients have. And I sat in that room, and they said they had no interest in going down the rabbit hole. None. That organization has an incredibly large research budget, and they didn't want to commit a dime to testing. So again, I feel a little weird and alone in my industry. They would rather just keep studying about fluoride. It's a 40-year-old organization. They would rather study fluoride. They would rather keep studying mercury. If we don't know by now that that stuff is not good for us, and they won't even commit $1 to testing the anesthetics. So I had more conversations during that meeting with Dr. Lundstrom. There are organizations who are going to help fund some of this testing. And Dr. Lundstrom's not going to stop. He's going to keep doing the testing. He's like, if the organizations don't want to get involved just because they don't want the optics of testing weird things and finding potentially weird things that we need to ask more questions about, then that's fine. And he said, I'm willing to take the hit for that. And I'm willing to help him financially however I can. But I need you guys to ask more questions. Because I tell you, one single dentist can't get the job done. 2 dentists can't get the job done. Dr. Artis can go a long way, but he can't get the job done. It takes you asking your dentist over and over and over again, hey, what's the deal? What's the latest with the anesthetic that you're using? Have you found anything else? Have you found ways to protect me from whatever might be in there? Asking these organizations. Go online. I'm happy to send you contact information. Call them up, because when they hear from patients, it gets their attention. When they hear from the public, it gets their attention. When they hear from members of the organization that, hey, I'm having a patient a day who refuses anesthetic, I can't do their dentistry because they don't want to be injected with anything, they pay attention. So this is not a conspiracy theory kind of talk. It is, I want you to ask questions because I don't know what I don't know. I can help you. I can give you information. I can give you supplements to use to protect yourself both before and after. The naturopaths at the Thermography Center are completely capable of making sure that you're protected before, protected after. They can help you process any of these things, but I need you guys asking questions. I need you to help me. So that's my ask, is help me by asking more questions, asking better questions. Be that annoying patient. That's okay. So if you'll do that favor for me, I want to know what you guys need. What would be helpful? And this is, again, we're still the family conversation. Am I still doing okay on time? Okay. So tell me who needs more information about cavities and gum disease. Okay, good. I'll make sure that you guys get everything I have. What about detox protocols? I have a list of supplements that I've put together that that my colleagues and I are using to help process some of these interesting contaminants in our anesthetic. Would anybody like that list? Okay. I'll make sure that you guys get that. How about fluoride? Is anybody still, and you don't even have to answer, I'm not trying to call you out. Are there people who are still on the fence about whether you should be using fluoride, not using fluoride? Again, no judgment, but if you're on the fence, then I'll send you some information. There's other fun stuff that's been in the news. Do you guys know that there's an ongoing lawsuit and we're just waiting on the judge's decision about fluoride in our water? Is that not exciting? Very exciting. Have you all heard of Rachel Levine, our Health and Human Services Secretary? So Rachel Levine blocked this government report from coming out right during the height of COVID that paused the lawsuit, and the judge couldn't move forward. But finally, they're done with their blocking attempts. You know, the judge scolded the government agencies enough that now they're able to make a decision. The report came out. They could only, you can only do a report on one thing at a time. So it was very, very narrowly focused. And this was on fluoride in our water, fluoride exposure as it relates to children's IQ. And again, this is not what I learned in dental school, y'all. So there was absolutely a strong correlation between increased fluoride exposure and a lower IQ in our babies. Doesn't that make you kind of sick at your stomach? And this is study after study. This is the highest level of research available because it took hundreds of studies in order to make this decision. They knew the political backlash that would happen by releasing this study. That's why it was blocked for so long. So it was finally forced to be released. And so far, what they're able to say is that they cannot determine a safe level of fluoride in our water. Isn't that interesting? They can't tell us what level is safe. They can tell us that 1.5 parts per million of fluoride in our water is positively associated with drop in IQ. The levels here in the United States are 0.7. However, after the government report was released, there was another study, didn't have time to be included in that report, finding just in Los Angeles County, where levels are 0.7, the recommendation everywhere in the United States, that for one, there was a wide range of fluoride levels in mom's urine, a wide range. So the 0.7 parts per million that we were all told was safe and effective, don't you love those terms? That level, 0.7, is associated with higher maternal urine levels, and that those with higher maternal urine levels of fluoride had children who were much higher risk of neurodivergent behavior. IQ is less, behavior problems higher, ADD, ADHD higher. All of those neurodivergent behaviors that we are seeing more and more today are higher the fluoride is in mom. So again, don't be fearful, but stay vigilant. And I apologize for being Debbie Downer of the morning.